Capcom just did something fans have been begging for over 20 years. They are remaking the craziest, campiest, most insane Resident Evil ever made. And here's the part nobody expected. In under a week, it racked up over 1 million wishlists. The trailer is pure nightmare fuel. There's a terrifying new feature that has the entire community saying the same 3 words. We are cooked. And Capcom quietly dropped one word from the title that tells you exactly how serious they are. This is Resident Evil Veronica, and we need to talk about it. Let's start with what actually happened. At Summer Game Fest, Capcom walked out and confirmed a full, ground-up remake of Resident Evil Code Veronica. Except, look closely because it's not called Code Veronica anymore. It's just Resident Evil Veronica. They dropped the code. And that's not a random branding choice. This is being built by the exact same team that made the Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 4 remakes. If you know anything about modern Resident Evil, you know that team does not miss. Those 2 remakes are considered some of the best survival horror games ever made. So when that studio picks up your favorite weird old game and rebuilds it on the RE engine, you pay attention. And the fans did. 1 million wishlists in under a week. The people have spoken, and what they said was, finally. Now let's talk about the trailer because Capcom made a very bold choice. There is almost no gameplay. Instead, they hit you with pure atmosphere. It opens on a cold, snow-dusted city at night. Then, a rain-soaked street. And if you look closely, you walk past a little cafe named Café du Parapluie. Parapluie is French for umbrella. Subtle. We drift through a dark old apartment, an eerie intercom, footsteps in black hallways. Then we're staring through a peephole, and then we see blood pooling across a tiled floor. The dread just builds and builds with almost no payoff, until finally the screen gives you what you came for. Claire Redfield, in the dark, with something monstrous looming right behind her. Then a blood-soaked title card and one number, 2027. It is moody, it is mysterious, and it tells you almost nothing about how the game plays. Which honestly is a power move. But to understand why this remake is such a huge deal, you have to understand the original, because Code Veronica is the strangest mainline Resident Evil there is. This game came out back in 2000 on the Sega Dreamcast, and it was a massive technical leap. It was the first mainline Resident Evil with fully 3D environments instead of those pre-rendered backgrounds. The story is wild. Claire Redfield gets captured and dumped on Rockfort Island, a secret umbrella prison. Naturally, there's an outbreak. She's looking for her brother, Chris. She teams up with a kid named Steve Burnside, and the whole thing eventually drags you all the way to a base in Antarctica. And then there's the villains, the Ashford twins, Alfred and Alexia. And Alfred is, without exaggeration, one of the most theatrical, over-the-top scenery-chewing villains in gaming history. There's a whole cross-dressing twist where he impersonates his sister. It is melodramatic, it is operatic, it is gloriously, completely unhinged. And that's the thing the internet is buzzing about right now. With this remake announced, fans have started revisiting the original, and they are remembering just how weirdly silly it actually is. The voice acting, the melodrama, Alfred prancing around his gothic mansion. For a survival horror game, Code Veronica is camp royalty, and people love it for that. So now there's this fascinating question hanging over the whole project, and I'll get to that because it might be the most controversial part of the entire remake. But first, the part that genuinely scares people. The new feature. In the original games, zombies mostly came at you one at a time, maybe in small clumps. You could manage them, pick your shots, back away. According to the reveal, this remake changes that completely. On Rockfort Island, the zombies now move in hordes. Large, coordinated masses of the dead traveling together. Now picture that. A cramped prison, narrow hallways, limited ammo, limited healing, a knife that breaks. And instead of one slow zombie, a wall of them shambling toward you with nowhere to run. That is not a graphics upgrade. That is a fundamental shift in how terrifying this game is. And the community's reaction was instant and unanimous. Everywhere you looked, people were posting the same thing. We are so cooked. In survival horror, that is the highest possible compliment. Now, back to that controversial question, because this is where it gets spicy. Code Veronica is beloved for being campy. Alfred's theatrics, the goofy lines, the pure 2000-era melodrama. But the RE2 and RE4 remakes? They played it mostly straight. They were grounded, tense, genuinely scary. They sanded off a lot of the original goofiness in favor of dread. So here's the tightrope Capcom is walking. If they make Veronica too serious, they risk losing the unhinged personality that made it a cult classic in the first place. But if they lean into the camp, it might clash with that heavy modern survival horror tone. Already, fans are debating it, pointing at characters like Steve and asking, do we keep the cartoonish energy, or do we go full horror? There is no easy answer, and whatever Capcom chooses, half the fanbase is going to have feelings about it. So where does that leave us? We've got the craziest Resident Evil ever made, getting rebuilt by the best remake team in the business. We've got a trailer that's pure atmosphere and barely shows the game. We've got a terrifying new horde system that has everyone bracing for pain. And we've got a genuine identity question. Can Capcom make the silliest Resident Evil legitimately scary without killing the personality that made people fall in love with it? They've earned the benefit of the doubt. RE2 and RE4 proved they understand this franchise better than almost anyone. But Code Veronica is a different beast. It's weirder, bigger, and far more emotional. We won't know how it all comes together until 2027, so I want to hear from you. Are you hyped for a serious, terrifying Veronica? Or do you need them to keep Alfred exactly as ridiculous as he's always been? Drop it in the comments. And if you want to be first when the gameplay finally drops, subscribe to Game Signal. We'll be right here when it does.